Awesome. So just a little introduction. I am Gabby. I am the founder of Mindjoy, where we're building a social learning platform for young people to connect, code, and create. And we're doing that. And we love using Replit for our coding sessions where we connect the kids to awesome coding projects. I am deeply curious about how we learn and how we construct the stories of ourselves with and through technology. So sort of how it is that we create environments using really awesome digital tools, and how it is that young people relate to these digital tools and digital worlds and essentially craft their identity around that. And so, you know, as I mentioned, we love using Replit. We use all our projects and sessions are created in Replit because we just think it is such an incredibly powerful environment for learning to program. And I am excited to dive a little bit deeper into what it means to create an enabling environment, specifically using your Readmes. So I don't know if anyone would like to just in the chat introduce yourselves, say hi, let me know where in the world you're from. I always find it's really nice just to see who is here and who's doing what and where you're from, what do you teach? What, I don't know if anyone wants to share. That would be great. Oh man, I really hope that, I hope everyone can hear and see and participate in the chat.
Gabby, can you see the chat?
Yeah, I can't actually.
Well, people are responding.
Okay.
So they can see you and hear you. They're
awesome.
From all over, so they're
here. Awesome. Brittany, I might need your help a little bit later, if that's okay.
Sure.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so just what we're going to look at today, and where we'll play a little bit together. So we meet and greet. I want to explore the problem with Readmes that we see working specifically with younger students between the ages of 8 and 16 and your high schoolers. And then maybe what we can learn from Minecraft. And then I'd like us to brainstorm a little bit together before we say goodbye. So I hope this will be fun and informative. All right, so we'll start with what is a README. And so a README is a text file that usually comes at the beginning of your project, where you explain what the project contains and what it's about. And it usually gives us a guide to everything we'll need to be successful running and installing and coding with a specific project. And usually these are text files. But nowadays, it's quite common to use readme.md, Markdown files, which is Markdown, for those of you who are maybe unfamiliar, is a lightweight markup language, which is really great for formatting. And I highlight this in case you want to go research Markdown afterwards. If you're unfamiliar, it's really, really awesome and can make your README files or your instruction files in your Replit projects really come alive. So sort of three main points we need to remember with Readmes is they need to have a clear goal or the why of the project. So generally there's a title and a description. And there are lots of other elements depending on how technical the README is, but these are sort of the high level objectives of a README. They need to have all the necessary project elements for how to use the project and use Markdown to make READMEs more readable. So what is the problem with Readmes then for students? I'm not sure if you'd like to add your ideas in the chat. If you have any Readmes that are, or any challenges that you've had with Readmes, you can pop them in the chat. I'm hoping that maybe some of these experiences might come up in your classroom. Or technical jargon, thank you. Right, code snippets, highlights. The amount of explaining is difficult, sometimes too much text, they turn off. 100%, David. That's something we see a lot. Struggling readers get intimidated, for sure. So these are all, thank you everyone for your contributions. So yeah, totally. I guess I wanted to kind of go with going through, well, what is the problem with Readmes, and then kind of how do they make us feel? And especially if you can put yourself in your students' shoes, approaching a Readme can be really intimidating. I remember the first time I ever looked at some API documentation, and it was really, really overwhelming and scary. And I actually didn't want to touch APIs for a while. I had to muster up the courage. But yeah, Readmes can be really dry and uninspiring. They can be instruction heavy. I've seen text heavy, struggling readers get intimidated and turned off. And they don't even get started with the exciting world of coding. And then there's generally just a lot of reading, and then can be technical jargon, as somebody mentioned. And then concepts are dense and very technical. And sometimes it's really hard to think, if you're the person creating the README, like how to write this in a way that it's useful for a broad audience. And so if this is how our short list of how Readmes can make for hard, uninspiring learning environments, we often will have students in our classes or sessions experience boredom. They'll be bored, like, this is boring. I don't know what's going on. Why should I keep reading all of this? It's so cognitively hard to read boring, dry text and then do the cognitive hard work that programming is. And so it's just really, really tiring and cognitively difficult. And then, you just have students like, but why? Why should I do this? Like, I can't connect or relate to this. So this is something we've thought a lot about at Mindjoy, and something we're constantly evolving and growing and challenging ourselves. But one place I thought we could look for inspiration is Minecraft. So what can we learn from Minecraft? Why does Minecraft inspire young people and capture their imaginations? And again, if you'd like to add your thoughts in the chat, I don't know if you've used Minecraft in any of your classrooms or played Minecraft yourself, but what kind of works in the world of Minecraft? Why do young people love Minecraft so much? And choose other things other than my stickies on the board. I see my son loves Minecraft. Shared experience. You can make anything. So for some people who might not know about Minecraft or haven't played Minecraft, if you know a young person, I really would encourage you to spend you need more than 5 minutes, but like 15 minutes and ask them to show you around Minecraft and get them to explain to you what makes Minecraft awesome. So I think for me, there are a couple of really interesting things to unpack. And that is, yes, somebody's just mentioned a safe space to go on an adventure. It is incredibly user-centric. So, the young person is the adventurer. They're the agent and driving their own learning. They are able to control the entire experience, and they're really in charge of what's happening as they go through this micro world. And then they have a lot of choice. So they have the ability to make choices. They can experience the consequence of their choices. There is a lot of tools for construction, but everyone has access to the same tools, which does make it a lot easier. But the outcomes, the things that they can make with those tools, are incredibly varied. And then there's very clear goals. So depending on what modes you're playing in Minecraft, whether you're creating or surviving or playing a games within the game with friends, it's very clear what it is you're doing. And then there's some more. There's active engagement. There's constantly learning by doing and through construction or making. There's solo or multiplayer. So you have the choice of playing Minecraft by yourself or with friends. And often the friends are are the way, like the motivation for doing it, right? Like young people playing with their friends or doing something with their friends is incredibly motivating and keeps them engaged. But also there's that peer-to-peer learning. So they learn from each other in this world. And then the other last bit was the environment has the knowledge. So everything you need to know about Minecraft, like if you start up playing Minecraft, it's kind of interesting because there's not a lot of instruction initially. You kind of have to like figure it out as you go, and you sort of feel awkward and you're sort of thrown in the deep end and you're stumbling around and you don't really know what's going on, but you figure it out as you go, and you generally do that often with friends helping you along the way. And then obviously you could turn to the internet, the broader internet, do research, watch tutorials, watch how-tos, learn from others, all of that amazing stuff that the internet enables us to do. But if we take this to some principles, so I think there's some principles we can extrapolate and we can apply to thinking about how we could possibly make our Readmes more inspiring and creative. So, we can encourage student choice in Readmes, fixed variables, variable outcomes. So that's, again, having all the elements you need to make and be successful with this project, but variable outcomes, presenting those elements in a way that shows that you can actually action choice and implement variations of code bits or code snippets or bits of your programming project. And then having clear tasks. So making sure that your tasks are really clear and well communicated. And then encourage exploration and discovery. So often linking to other resources or libraries or, other places where you can get inspiration for your project, but also pointing out where the coder can experiment and play, where they can really, explore the project and make it their own. And then peer-to-peer. So this might be a little bit like strange in maybe the broader sense, but I think, connecting to communities or Stack Overflow or these kinds of things is very much about building coding habits, but thinking then, okay, well, how do we create peer-to-peer interactions or guide to peer-to-peer instances in our project, specifically in classroom settings, is a really interesting one. All right. So I would like to show you a very interesting Markdown file. And this is maybe taking it to the next level. I'm going to leave this up here and give you a couple of minutes to observe and notice this file tree. Notice what's going on here. You can observe. I'm not going to point out too much more, but I would like to invite you all also to, I'm not sharing a link, unfortunately, to this project. This is just on a mirror board, but if you can just look on the screen and in the chat, yeah, please feel free to share any observations.
Gabby, is it possible for you to zoom in just a little bit so we can read it? Perfect, thank you.
I can zoom in a little bit more and kind of show you around.
Yes,
I'm going to leave
that's
that
good.
there.
That's perfect.
So just a reminder, if you're feeling like, what on earth is going on? We've taken inspiration from the world of Minecraft. So, if you're going back to the purpose of a README, it is a guide. Everything is broken down simply. I'm going to go over here because I'm going to show you something else. I will try and make sure we can share a project afterwards so that you can take a look and play around. Language, Brittany sharing, noticing language. So a couple of things. I'm going to scroll down to a different screen also. So here you'll see we've gone to the achievements file. So we've broken down our file tree, and we've got a couple of readmes, which is maybe naughty, by some standards. However, we're trying to design for active learning, high engagement, students doing things, so moving around, clicking around, not being afraid to try things and take a look around. So what we've got is the map, which is obviously if you're lost, and this is something we often say is like, if you're lost, what would you use? You'd use a map, a guide. You'd go to the thing that can help you when you're lost. And so also this introduces a sense of playfulness to the projects and a sense of exploration and discovery. Map makes me think of a learning adventure. Awesome. I'm so glad that these ideas are sparking things in your imagination. So we've got a map that's a Markdown file. Here you can see we've got achievements Markdown file. And so this is a project where we're exploring building let me show you. All right, so if you take a look over here, you might notice a couple of interesting things. Just for those who are unfamiliar, in Replit, if you use the Markdown convention, your Markdown file can open up in the console on the right, which is really nice for when you're working in your main pie, your programming file. You can have your Markdown open alongside it, which is really great for learning. So students can read along while they're working through their code file. So a big thing I'd like to draw your attention to is things like mission. We use missions. This is something that you can decide if you want to go with missions or quests or tasks. But sort of like instructions, instead of instructions, we're just making it active and playful. And so this is how we're inviting and encouraging play. This project takes quests give a feeling of Indiana Jones. Thank you for your compliments. But so this README, you might notice our instructions are initially, our first couple of achievements are quite ambiguous. They're little riddles or puzzles. And they're quite deliberately so. We're mostly just trying to encourage students to like loosen up and be playful and then get going with the project. So here, a really fun thing to do using this convention is if you use your Markdown file, you can make checkable tasks. So if I put an X in here, it shows that I've marked this achievement off. And so I can track my progress. And it's really a small little technique, but it really creates the idea that I can check things off and experience a sense of accomplishment as I'm moving through the tasks and getting things done. And then, all right, I will move on to show you another little bit. So another little idea we've borrowed from the world of Minecraft is we have made and taken, we've created an inventory. So here in this screen, you can see there is inventory and the main pie, and we've got the main folder and our inventory open at the same time. And it says, oh, I've got one bit item in my inventory. And that is a code snippet, the code snippet that we will be working with in this project. This is a really short one, and I could copy it and copy my code into my project and then start modifying my prompt and playing with the code based on the achievements that come up next. But that way I've got this idea and the sense of an inventory. I've got a collection of code snippets of bits of code that I can use, and I can organize them in different ways and more complex bits of code. I might have multiple items in my inventory. and that's something the students really get excited about. Like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know where this thing is. I don't understand. Oh, I go check my inventory. Maybe there's something in there that can help me figure it out. And then, all right, we've got like a Notepad, just a plain text file that we're using for sharing outputs of your project or any ideas that you might have or notes that you're taking while you're working through this project. So really to encourage active learning. So that's a tour of our how you can be really creative with your Readmes. And this one really pushes it to the next level. And we're really trying to do something quite different with our Readmes. All right. And then just one sort of last screen I would like to share with you is a couple of closing sort of thoughts about your Readme. And I will share this with you I will share this and a link to all of this afterwards. But this is sort of inspired by the Replit curriculum jam last year, where we took one of the challenges in terms of giving a structure to your projects and to your curriculum, and we kind of just broke it down into how you can think about making your Readmes a little bit more creative. So just in some, you might want to use, you might want to put your, you will be able to statements, or your student will be able to statement right at the top of your project. You want to definitely lead your project with an introduction, mission or description, a name, challenges, just to remind you, you can think about using challenges in a variety of ways. They can be checkable tasks. They can really encourage students to not just follow instructions and be text heavy, but really like simple explanations and bits of information that they can work through and synthesize as they go, so that they can build their understanding. And then you really want to try, we like to talk about making instructions be psych. So really encouraging, your instructions to be active and get the student to do something. So really try and, really try and move the student from having to read and read and read. But what we try and design for is a state of change. So, okay, I'll read for a few minutes, but then I've got to, the Readme has to be designed to do something. And whether that's, you need to do something to your code, make it, modify it, interpret something, predict what might happen. You can use your prim method there. There are all these really, interesting ways of how you can get the student to change from being just reading and following instructions to and just really trying to avoid copying and pasting bits of code, but really then asking them to interact with the code and do and experience the code in a very playful way. So thank you so much for we're out of time. That went by really quickly. I could spend a whole another hour with everyone and take you into more projects and show you different ways we can play with Readmes. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. I'd be more than happy to share some resources, maybe through Brittany and David can share with all the educators. I hope you feel inspired to come up with creative ways of putting your Readmes together.